What's up, guys? We are back with another video. Hope you guys are having a beautiful and blessed day. This video is about the ego is an illusion. You are not real. You're not a real person. You're not real. You're just not real. You think it's real, but it's not. That's the illusion factor. Now, with a lot of these more esoteric concepts, we harp on the fact that the ego is a bad thing. Oh, it's a bad thing. Oh, you gotta have less ego. I talk about the ego as I think about the ego is more like a tool. So the ego is like a hammer. Hammer a nail with a hammer. You can build a house with a hammer or hit yourself in the head with a hammer. So the ego can help you or it can destroy you. The ego is formed by external environments. Think about it. You didn't even choose your name. You were born in the middle of the forest with no parents, nobody else surrounding you. You wouldn't have a name. You wouldn't have anything to call yourself. You were born, probably in a hospital, and your parents called you a name. And then you chose to identify with that name. So if you didn't even choose your name, then how many attributes that you have that you consciously chose, and how many attributes that you have that you actually consciously chose? I liken this to exercising, working out. What if I told you that I didn't like working out at all? And I actually identified with being super skinny. I thought it was kind of a cool look, and both of my brothers exercised or worked out. So I was like, I'll be the skinny little brother. That was the story that I told myself. That was my ego. And time passes, the skinny turned into skinny fat, and eventually I was like, maybe I should work out. Got into spirituality, realized that spiritual people worked out. So that was my new identity. It was, I'm skinny fat, which is an identity that I did not like, but I'm also spiritual, so that's an identity that I do like. Spiritual people exercise, right? If you really care about your health, you really care about your well-being, you exercise. So that was the new identity that I attached myself to. So that's when I started to exercise, right? But at the beginning, I didn't even like it. I didn't identify with it. I just thought, oh, this is kind of dumb. And I was actually telling myself a story to perpetuate the same belief systems. Think about it. Think about yourself when you were a child, right? You were running around in the playground and maybe you were running too fast and your mom told you to slow down. No hate to her, but she told you to slow down. And you're like, okay. I gotta slow down. I gotta be careful. I gotta be safe. Those things start to get into your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind is attached to your ego.
And sometimes you just have to be fearless enough to break the simulation. Let's start with acting, first of all. And a 2-year-old screams at a restaurant, the entire restaurant screams. Teach that kid how to act. We're all unpaid actors in some giant script that we didn't write. Simulation, a 2-year-old jumps on a coffee table and someone says, that's a coffee table, don't jump on that. So it went from being something that makes him feel like Superman, he's got his cape on, to something where he has to think about this person's like a family member he doesn't like anyway. He's 2 years old, he doesn't give about a coffee or a table. And he's starting to calculate all these things. And by the time you're 40 years old, you've got a wall full of coffee tables calculating you into traffic, calculating you into your career choice, calculating you into this townhouse that's not quite as big as the townhouse next, and it just never works. That's the simulation that I'm talking.
But also, maybe people don't want the kid to get hurt jumping on the coffee table.
We are too protective. We always don't want someone to get hurt. Can you imagine me talking to my publicist before I said I'm going on TV again? We get too caught up in the past and what everyone's saying and what everyone...
So the ego is basically a bunch of learned behaviors combined together. And this is when people talk about realism. So then people talk about things like, that's not realistic. Perhaps they want to start a business. That's not realistic. They want to go back to school. That's not realistic. They want to do things that would actually improve their life quite drastically, but they say no to these events or opportunities because they believe that it's not realistic. I have such a gripe with this word realistic. Not because it's like I'm just some airy fairy dude and I'm just high up in the sky, maybe to some people's standards, but mostly because I believe that this is such a huge barrier to the human existence. I mean, what are you looking at this video at right now? It's like a portal, magical device where you can talk to anyone in the world. I mean, realism really shouldn't even be in our dictionary as human beings. Our potential is so great, and that's mainly because we have God within us. But that's a whole nother topic. Is that realism is attached usually to negativity. We usually don't say stuff like, it's not realistic that I'll never go broke. We usually don't say stuff like that. People usually don't say stuff like, it's not realistic that I won't have love in my life. People usually don't say stuff like that. They usually, most of the population, believe the opposite. The realism, the things you call realistic, and I really want you to delve into your own brain, the things you call realistic are usually negative belief systems. It's not your fault. These negative belief systems has been programmed into you, right? Somebody might say, I want to start a YouTube channel, right? Somebody might say, really? I don't know. Meanwhile, they watch YouTube every day. I think that's kind of funny, but nonetheless, example can be with anything. I want to go back to school. Really? That's not realistic. And a lot of times what people do is they attach their own belief system to them. I have this new thing where when I look at YouTube comments, I just think that's their belief system. That's their belief system. That's their belief system. When you see a YouTube comment, that's just their belief system. When you're watching this video, this is just my belief system. Everything is just somebody's belief system. Unfortunately, we don't have God literally on earth telling us that is true, that is not true. So for the most part, everything is subjective. And I know that went into the microcosm, but how do we get into the microcosm? The things you tell yourself are subjective. So if you believe I'm the type of person who can't exercise, that is subjective. That's extremely subjective. Going back to my example with exercising, this fucking train. Back to my example with exercising, I believe I was a person who couldn't exercise. That was my belief system. Until I looked at my brothers and I was like, they exercise, so why can't I? Maybe I do have good genetics. And then it started to snowball into a belief system that is actually good, that actually gave me a hobby that will impact my life. So if you believe you can't do something, the reason why you believe you can't do something is because you have a certain belief system in your head telling you you can't do it. But as much as you have that negative belief system, there's positive belief systems. So as much as you have negative reasons on why you can't, you have just as many, if not more, positive reasons on why you can. That's why the ego is such a delicate tool, because once again, you can hit yourself in the head with a hammer. I can't exercise, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. Or you can use that hammer to build something. Whether that be your body, your mindset, your spirituality, you can use it to go to a whole different level. But you have to understand, and it takes some sort of deep reflective work to question your belief systems, because they can seem so static. But what you come to the conclusion is reality in of itself isn't even static. Everything is moving at a different frequency and a vibration down to an anatomic level. Okay, that might have just, perhaps, that's a video for another time. I really hope you guys resonated with the words I spoke on today. To make sure to like, comment, subscribe. I want to do these videos daily. I feel like I say that a lot in videos, but we're kind of going back to the OG talking head spiritual knowledge. So much appreciated. Peace out.